I guess not everyone wants to be seated. Please be seated. No, thank you. Even me, I was waiting there, taking my time. But Jody proposed that in between the talk, or between our discussion, she will do some small exercise for us. So we will get up, and do some movements, and then we will be seated again. Thank you, Jody. So, the Gita. This is the Gita. The whole Gita. It is with me for the last 30 years. It became yellow and worn out. And I bought it from Gita Press for 1 rupee. When I was in the Soviet Union, this literature was not available. It was even prohibited. When it was translated into Russian, only 5,000 copies were made for the whole Soviet Union and quickly distributed among all the libraries, that nobody should find it. My friend took the ticket from Odessa to Tashkent, flight ticket, very expensive for Russians, to catch 1 copy there when it was published for the first time and to bring it back to Odessa. And in India it's 1 rupee. Well, it was a tragic time. We were looking for this literature. It was the most precious literature for us. Sri Aurobindo was prohibited. Nobody could find his books. If you have your books at home, you could be arrested and sent to SAIYR because he was considered to be a reactionist. You know that. Huh? So we had this secret society where we were secretly exchanging books. Somebody had Gita, somebody had something else. Yoga Sutras, let's exchange for a while. And we were rewriting them, handwriting. I had the whole library of rewritten books. When I studied in St. Petersburg University, I was a philologist, I studied Sanskrit, so they allowed us, it was already 1986, so there was Gorbachev and there was a new time. They allowed us to access Sri Aurobindo's books in 1 library, the biggest in Soviet Union, in St. Petersburg and Moscow, 2 libraries, the biggest. And there were books of Sri Aurobindo, 30 volumes, in they called it spetskran, special protection under the safe, with KGB agent taking all notes, who is taking what book to read. And to read, there was a special cabinet. You had to leave all your things and pencil and books and notebooks out. You could not make notes. You had to go there, take that book, sit there, read, and then give back to that safe and leave. And because I was a philologist, we were allowed to have access to those books as a philologist, Sanskritologist. Psychologists, philosophers had no access. I'm telling you this all because how precious it is. And when the first time I went there, I got first Sri Aurobindo's book. It was volume 10 from his centenary edition, The Secret of the Veda. I just opened, and those pages, they were smelling this fungus. Nobody ever opened them. They were totally new, but they were golden pages. And that fungus was such a holy one. So I couldn't even read. I was sitting 1 hour with that book, touching the pages, golden pages, smelling the fungus. And I left, didn't read anything. But the next day I came and I could engage myself with all his treasures. When I came to India in 91, in Pune, I studied in Pune University, Sanskrit department, and Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute. I went to the spiritual bookshop, and there they had, I asked them, there were all kind of books, Khajuraho, all these big, nice temples in front, and I asked, do you have Sri Aurobindo? Sri Aurobindo? Yes, we have, there at the back. So I went to the back, and on the lower shelves at the back there were these cheap volumes. You remember these? Synthesis, Life Divine, 80 rupees, Synthesis, 60 rupees, those soft ones. Blue, green. Few books there at the lowest shelf, totally dusty. Nobody ever approached them, so I bought all of them. And sent to Russia. That was an adventure. When you have full access to these treasures, you don't value them so much. You just don't know what is here. You think you know. You don't know. This is the whole world. This is Sri Aurobindo. Krishna, who was, his teacher, his guide, his embodiment after all. He put Gita into his hands in Alipur jail. He came to him. You know how he went to Alipur jail. He was caught because of this Alipur case and had to be executed. But he cried and said, Krishna, did you want this for me? This was your plan for me? And Krishna came to him and said, no. I tried to talk to you. You were too busy with your freedom fighting. You didn't listen to the voice. And Sri Aurobindo said, yes, I remember there was a voice. But now I have full attention. So this was the most holy imprisonment. So Krishna came to him and put Gita into his hands, as he says. He understood everything about the Gita. So what is so precious about this Gita? That for centuries, for millennia we speak about it. What is here? We know something. Yeah? Krishna and Arjuna discussing about the philosophy of the world, but there are three major parts, and this is the topic of my presentation. There is Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Location of these chapters are also important. The first is Karma Yoga section, 6 chapters. There are 18 chapters. 6 chapters of Bhakti Yoga next, and 6 chapters of Jnana Yoga. And that creates the whole structure, 18 chapters. As Sri Aurobindo says, I will quote from him, it's interesting how he interprets, because his interpretation is unique. Nobody else ever looks at the location of the chapters in this way, locations of the yogas, and why it is important. I want to address. The first step, says Sri Aurobindo, is karma yoga. The selfless sacrifice of works. And here the Gita's insistence is on action. Action is first. It must be done. The second is jnana yoga, not bhakti, as in location of the Gita. The self-realization and knowledge of the true nature of the self and the world, and here the insistence is on knowledge. But the sacrifice of works continues, and the path of works becomes one with, but does not disappear into the path of knowledge. So action does not disappear, action becomes conscious. You reach to the self-realization. In other place he says the smoke of our sacrificial action reaches to heaven. It communicates to heaven. So you realize yourself through action. And the third, last step is bhakti yoga. Adoration and seeking of the Supreme Self as the Divine Being. And here the insistence is on devotion. But the knowledge is not subordinated, only raised, vitalized and fulfilled with love. And still, the sacrifice of works continues. The double path becomes the Truyan way of knowledge, works and devotion. And the fruit of the sacrifice, the one fruit still placed before the seeker, is attained. Union with the Divine Being and oneness with the Supreme Divine Nature. So the idea of the sacrifice to be fulfilled is to unite these three parts of our being, of our mind, our will in the body, and our vital, our feelings, heart, emotions. These are three constituent parts of our body. Even body is built in this way: head, torso, and legs. And even our face is built in the same way: the mouth, the nose, breathing, prana, and eyes, mental. Heaven, earth, and space in between. Heaven, earth, and space in between. The navel is the center of the body. It is that crack, antariksha, which unites heaven and earth in the Vedic language. It is that navel from which the Brahma Swayambhu is born, and Vishnu lies on the Shesha, and from his navel there is Brahma Swayambhu. In this lotus, the whole universe is created. That navel which connects the embryo in the mother's womb, where the being is born. That navel, subtle navel, which connects our pranic body to the physical, and when we die, that navel is cut again. Interesting. This is the middle part, yes? And the heart is here. So why this division of three and union of three is considered to be the fulfillment of the sacrifice? We are, unfortunately, he says, we are dispersed. Our heart never goes with our mind together. What we feel and love is not the same what we think and speak. And our will is also very different from whatever we think or know or want. We do different things. So can you imagine when we are willing in the same way when we are thinking, what we are thinking and what we are feeling? This union, this one is called yukta, united. And once we are united, these three parts come together in one intention, in one will, in one direction, we become invincibles. We become those who, healthy people. I'm looking at you always because your presentation was so wonderful of the body and all the senses. So how to become united? Why these three parts also important for the social structure? Now I want to address this a bit. Sri Aurobindo on this ground has a very interesting elaborations on three major values of French Revolution: liberty, equality, and fraternity. And he says it is actually the spiritual ideal. Liberty is our will power, karma yoga. Equality is knowledge, self-realization. That is samatha, about which Shraddhala was talking. And fraternity is the heart. And you can see that these three, liberty is the freedom of the individual's will, which leads to the necessity of equality of all individuals. It inevitably will lead to this equality of all individuals. Once you have your free will, it will lead you to this equality. So Republicans will lead you to the Democrats. There is no way. Because democratic ideal is the ideal of equality, of equal opportunity of every individual. And if you are true to your true freedom of will, you will arrive at this necessity. It's inevitable. So these two parties represent these two poles in the United States, quite interestingly. And they are never reconciled. Did you notice that? Yeah? But reconciliation comes from, what Sri Aurobindo says, only from fraternity, from the heart, from love. If love is not there, if brotherhood is not established, between these two there will be always rivalries. So there is a necessity of the third party, party of brotherhood, of love, of recognition of true value of human beings as such. It's kind of interesting where Gita leads us, how far this ideal can be projected and seen in our everyday life and struggles. We have also the divine trinity. We have, as you know, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. So Brahman is, in the Veda, is the word rising from the depth of the heart. Rudra is the power which holds on his shoulders the whole nature. And Vishnu is the Godhead of the overmind, from above. He acts through Indra, as we know. It's a lightning of intuition. Both of them have Vajra. Rudra, his son is Agni, rising at fire, rising to heaven. This is a power in nature which is pushing forward the whole evolution, this constant betterment about which Alok was talking. It's always there. We are always looking for better. Everything is to be growing in the quality. This is the fire, the flame, which is pushing. Every cell is regenerating, as you said. We don't have the same body twice. We are constantly new. We are constantly growing in quality. Never backward, always forward, never backward. Even if it seemed to be backward. Even if you fall, it's only for that to rise even higher. So these two powers of heaven and earth, of Vishnu and Rudra, are reconciled by Brahman. Brahman is the word, and rishis bring these Vedas, riks. And when Agni is rising high above, he needs to be framed by the word. And when he is framed by the word, he reaches to heaven. And then heaven and earth are united. And this is the aim of the sacrifice. To unite the spirit and matter, to make them equal and one, as they are in the highest heaven. So here again Gita comes, with these three constituents of our nature. One more thing I want to say into this structure, and then we will stand up and do some exercise and engage in the short discussion on this structure. You know that the whole integral yoga is built on this Purna yoga, yes? There are 4 yogas. There is yoga of works, yoga of love, and yoga of knowledge, and Sri Aurobindo adds one more yoga, yoga of self-perfection. And this is the synthesis of yoga. Yoga of self-perfection is that union of these 3 and evolution of that new species, which are united. What is next to do? What is the next step in evolution? There is an amazing message by the Rig Veda which actually covers these 3 structures of consciousness. And that is the last message of the Veda to the humanity by Samvanana Atreya. And I will quote only 2 shlokas, 2 last verses from here. It will be interesting to see this structure. These last verses of the Rig Veda covering this structure of the Gita. It says, Samgachatvam, meet together. Samvadadvam, speak together. Word. Meet together in will, come together. Huh? Speak together the word. Samvomanansi janatam. May your minds come together and know together. Deva bhagam yatha purve samjanana upasate. As the first gods sat together, agreeing to take portion of the work, sacrifice in the creation. All the gods did this agreement, unity. Samanivo akutich, may your will in the body be uniting. Samana hridayanivaha, may your aspiration of the heart be uniting. Samanamastuvo mano, may your mind be uniting. Yathavach susahasati, as it should be in your common well-being together. The last words of the Rig Veda and the Gita and the future, French Revolution, and the 2 parties and the 3rd party needed. You look at this global vision and our structure, mind, vital, body. Mind, vital, body. Nature replicates it. It's natural. It's normal. It's wonderful. Now I would like to engage with you a bit and see what we can discuss about the Gita structure, concepts, ideas, visions. It's unusual what I did today, but I wanted to convey this to you. That Gita has deeper roots and has future. And it is natural. It's inbuilt in nature. It's the only thing we have. The will, the mind, and the feelings, emotions, devotion, love, heart. Thoughts, ideas, questions. Too activated, yes. You know, when the panis are activated, the whole kind of meditative thing disappears. All the deeper thoughts and ideas somehow gone after running. Let's run again. Usually it's the biggest problem of our psychology. Yes, please.
Can you talk more about the symbolism and the role of Krishna?
Right. You know that Krishna Krishna was the previous avatar, yes? Before Kalki avatar was Krishna. He prepared the overmental manifestation, as Sri Aurobindo says. And then he was looking, most probably, for someone, the vehicle, who was prepared over centuries. By the way, Sri Aurobindo in the previous incarnation was in the French Revolution. It's interesting. And when he was in England, he mentions this, that he never studied French, he remembered French from the previous life. You can imagine what kind of consciousness you must have to remember language from the previous life. And he had an enormous memory. He could read and remember the book, yeah? Literally, page by page. Even students played with him, tell me what is on this page, and he was kind of from his memory. When he was writing for Arya, he didn't have references to the books. It was from memory. It's amazing if you think of this quality of the person. So, over time, the avatar, this who Sri Aurobindo is, supramental avatar, or we call him Kalki also, Mother said, because he broke his hip and he was limping. Mother didn't allow any doctor to repair his hip. And somebody noticed, he's limping. And she said, yes, of course, Kalki Avatar is limping also. He was limping by the tradition. So this avatar had to be prepared over time. Leonardo da Vinci was mentioned as his reincarnation of Sri Aurobindo. So this consciousness, this vehicle was prepared for that supramental avatar to embody. And of course Krishna had to be there. He was guiding this process till he was ready. And once he was ready, Krishna even entered, as you know, in 1926, 24th of February, the descent of the overmind, the descent of Krishna into Sri Aurobindo's body. And then he went into seclusion for 24 years. 24 years he was in his room, not leaving his room. Do you know anyone who's been in 24 years in one room? He was working on the pulling down, bringing down the supramental consciousness with Krishna in his body. And Mother said it is for the work. It is needed that both of them are there to do the work, that work, of immense magnitude for the humanity. And the realization of it was in 1956 only, when Sri Aurobindo already left his body by the Mother. Sri Aurobindo left all his force to the Mother. You know that, most probably. When he was in Samadhi already, they didn't bury them, yes? They put the bodies in the tombs, in the Samadhi, and the force from Sri Aurobindo started to come into her with such a visibility. Mother said that she thought everybody sees it. It was like entering into her body long hours until he passed to her, all her achievements. And in 1956, she broke that lid, and for the first time supramental force touched the earthly atmosphere. And that was the beginning of a great journey. That was the creation of the dream. You remember that dream? It must be somewhere upon earth, a place where no nation could claim as its own, where all people of all nations could live freely together as citizens of the world, obeying only one truth, that of the supreme truth, yes. Obeying only one. I don't remember literally how it is. But this dream came, and from this dream, Auroville was born. In 1968, she inaugurated Auroville. It's all Krishna related. Mother also had interaction with someone who was coming to her from her childhood, teaching her. And she called him Krishna. And she made his drawings. And it was Sri Aurobindo. When she came to Pondicherry and she saw Sri Aurobindo, she recognized that was the Krishna who was coming to me.
Practicing them on a daily basis. Imagine somebody who works 9 to 5. So what would be their practice in the day?
Very nice, practical. Well, karma yoga can be practiced through your lifetime and at work everywhere. Karma yoga is a principle of freedom from psychological dependence on the fruit of action, on your result. That means you have something to do and to fulfill, to achieve, but psychologically you have to be free from this attachment. It should not determine your actions. It should not define what you will be choosing and doing. You have to be free psychologically. It doesn't mean factually that you should not do. The procedure is there. It's a normal thing. And once you do that, once you are free from the fruit of action, you would feel many more forces and ideas and solutions which you can apply. Because you are not like this running for the result. Check, 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 you did. And then you were unconsciously doing it, mechanically. You were not present. You didn't learn anything. You didn't grow in consciousness through that action. So to become conscious, you have to step back and see it from a bit at distance, so to say. And that is the psychological freedom from the fruit of action, number one. That will lead you from the much more difficult freedom, in which you have to acquire freedom from the modality of action. You like to do things this way, or you like to do only this job. I like to read only books, Sanskrit. I love reading Sanskrit. I don't want to work in the garden. This preference is actually a problem. It's egoism. Ego is surviving through this, yes? I know this way, how to do it the best way. This way, that's why I do it, yeah? I'm efficient. I don't want to try another way. It's too difficult. It's unknown. And that makes me narrow. So to widen that, I have to be open to new modalities of action. I should not be determined by what I know the best. I should try something which I don't know. But for that, I have to have spiritual freedom somewhere. To dare to do it, I have to have another poise, look at myself, no? And the third freedom, if you acquired this, if you are free from the fruit of action and from the modality, is the freedom from the actor. You see that you are not the actor. That nature does everything. Nature means this very thing, which is reincarnating all the time, rejuvenating all the cells, rebuilding through the cosmos all the interactions, outer, inner consciousness. It is an amazing enterprise which nature maintains in the mind, in the vital thoughts. The opportunities are sent, thoughts are selected for you for choice, for choosing. Everything is arranged, prearranged, and executed, and you are there just watching how it is happening. So through the activity you can arrive at the liberation. You don't need to leave action. You can, through the action, arrive at your self-finding and self-realization. It's doable. If you start doing it every day, you will see the results immediately. Immediately. Freedom. This is only karma yoga. Jnana yoga is something else. Some people identify it with Raja yoga, but I don't think that it is one-to-one. Raja yoga is more specific in meditations, in concentrations. This is more of recognizing how nature works through three gunas. Seeing how nature, once you achieved karma yogic freedom, then you are in jnana yoga. Then you see how nature beautifully arranged everything, all the modalities. Now I am tired, nature, I am tired. Yeah? Body is tired, wants to rest, wants to sleep. This is nature's arrangement. Now I am hungry, I go and eat. I is not I, this nature goes and eats. And so on. And you start viewing this and you learn about how nature is managing the whole enterprise of the spirit. And then you see something beyond the gunas constantly, because that you look for from Purusha's side, from the witness. This is jnana yoga. And then there is bhakti yoga. So once the flame reached to heaven, the heaven answers. And the answer of heaven to our heart, uniting heaven and earth, is generating this immense love for the divine. This is the outcome of the self-realization. Love for the divine is impossible without self-realization. Whom can you love? What divine could you love if you don't have a glimpse of what it is or who you are? It is an idea only, concept, religion. You have to have some glimpse. You have to have some realization before you can love the divine. It's always like this. Some knowledge brings some love, some aspiration in the heart. Is it not so? Otherwise it will never be there, aspiration. Why should you aspire for the divine, looking for him, if you don't have some glimpse of him, some realization of yourself? So that's why Sri Aurobindo puts it as the third, because this is the crown. Vishwarupa Darshana, when Krishna reveals his universal nature to Arjuna, is in Bhakti Yoga. This is the crown of the Gita. This is not intermediary stage. It is the end. It's the vision. Even gods envy and want to see this Vishwarupa always. And not anyone can see without Krishna granting them that, divine sight. Divya Drishti. Otherwise you cannot see the divine in all the beings, in nature, in everywhere, in the flowers, in the wind, in the flame, in the rain, in the dawn, in the sun, everywhere him. It's only him everywhere, the divine. And you love him in everything, in everyone. This is this brotherhood. Yeah? And that is Bhakti Yoga. By the way, the whole chapter there, chapter 10, is dedicated to the Vibhutis. And there Krishna describes nature as his own manifestation. He is in the flame. The heat in the flame is me, he says. The heat in the flame. But this realization is very rare. Yes, yes.
Can you speak about Arjuna's dilemma? The guy,
Oh,
it's just so juicy.
yes. We discussed this not once in our group, yes. What is that dilemma of Arjuna? Well, the dilemma is severe, actually. When you come and with the divine and you have to fight with people whom you love, whom you respect, without whom you cannot live. your gurus, your relatives, your elders. And Krishna says, go and fight. Of course, what else can you say? I would rather be sannyasi, I leave, it's okay, let them kill me. But he doesn't look at the one big point which Krishna brought him. He made him, Arjuna, what he was. Slowly, gradually, through Karna. Karna was better than him. But Krishna made all those mischiefs with Karna, that Karna lost his, invincibility. And he actually worked on Arjuna so much to create a hero as an example for humanity. His role was not to think of himself or what he prefers or how he feels emotional. He was to be an example of the hero of humanity, to show the courage in the moment when it had to be there. That was Krishna's role for Arjuna, but he didn't see it. He didn't know it. He thought that he would, he works for himself. And then he was scared also, truly, because this is a very scary thing to enter into the massacre with your relatives. For the reasons which are very flimsy, this kingdom and why to be a king and so what, enjoy what? That's what he asks him. Why should I enjoy? How can I enjoy kingdom after killing all my relatives? How can you see it with my hands stained in blood, as he says? There is no way out for him. And Krishna slowly starts that the one who kills and thinks that he's killed is bewildered. He doesn't know what is happening. He starts from far and slowly leads him to the awareness, and even then he doesn't understand. Even then he resists until he reveals his Vishwarupa darshan. And then he becomes even more scared because he sees what Krishna does. Krishna says, I already killed all these warriors. It's not your task to kill them. You are just my instrument. Then he realizes that he is not in charge of his destiny. Krishna is. It is his decision. And even still it is difficult. Though he's closer and closer coming to the end of the 18th chapter, is where he finally gets it. Now he says, my mind is clear, I understand everything. As Krishna says, surrender to me. Leave all your dharmas, all your duties, all your thoughts, what you have to be or what you have to do. Leave behind. They are inferior instruments of growth. I am here, the divine, with you. Give me your will. And don't worry, don't fear anything. You are in my hands.
I wonder if you could go back and comment on something that happens in the Mahabharata before the war starts, and both sides of cousins want Krishna to join them, and how he places the choice in their hands and they choose.
Right, when he woke up, you mean that? Right. When Krishna was resting, and so at the feet Arjuna was sitting, and at the head Duryodhana. And Krishna opened his eyes and he saw first Arjuna. And he offered to them the first choice, yes? But it didn't matter actually, because they chose in whatever direction they would choose the same. So Arjuna said, the choice was, I give you myself or my army. And his army was solid, big. Yeah? So Krishna was fighting against his own army. Can you imagine that? In the Kurukshetra. king fights his own army. And Arjuna said, I want Krishna. And Duryodhana said, I want the army, of course. What else?
Why is that always there? Like in Gita, there's that, in Savitri, there's that Krishna asking them to kill. In Savitri,
Kill, that's what he explains in the second chapter. If you think you are killing or you are killed, you are bewildered. You are not really in a true understanding of what is happening. By the way, Krishna himself was cursed by Gandhari at the end, as you know. When she saw that all her sons, 100 sons, were killed, she cursed him. I curse you, Krishna, that you will die, and so on. And they rushed to him and said, you see, Gandhari cursed you. And Gandhari was a very dharmic woman, had a very great power of curse. So, and he said, yes, she speaks with my voice. When Sri Aurobindo left Alipur jail, he had his speech, as you know, yes? Uttarpara speech. And there he explains that Krishna gave him the vision, the knowledge, that everyone does his work, Krishna's work, even those who are fighting against him. They just don't know it. Everybody does Krishna's work. It is your choice. You can join his army, you can join him. It is your choice where you want to be and grow in consciousness, on what side of the fence you want to fight this battle and grow in consciousness. But you will grow in consciousness and do Krishna's bidding. Some people have their egoistic desires to be something or to grow or to become someone important in life. And while they are going to that aim, growing to that end of their desire, they will do many moves and actions and meeting people. And so Krishna's Yoga Maya, that very creative power, will arrange everything in such a way what Krishna wants. So all the works will be done on the way till he reaches, or maybe not reaches his aim, it doesn't matter, but he will be moving in that direction. It's like a thread in the tapestry, will be moving and building the picture of something Krishna wants.
also the Gita often gets invoked to justify war, to justify fights, to justify aggression, and righteousness.
It's a wrong interpretation, mental interpretation, absolutely. It's not about the war. It's about the meaning of life. And the war is a part of it, whether we want it or not, because nature works like this. It brings the opposites, and by that she creates the synthesis, the greater synthesis. By the way, Krishna was asked the same question at the end of his life. Why did he make this massacre? Why? Why did you have to kill everyone? And he said that, my task was very difficult. To shift from one dharma to another. From dharma before of righteousness, of my varnik righteousness and right, I am the king, I decide, to the varna of each individual having to find truth in the heart. This shift is so radically difficult that massacre was necessary. There was no other way to make it faster. He knows. How do we know? This is a very profound question. By the way, my father never could accept Gita. He said, no, this, fighting your relatives, forget about this. I don't believe in such God, bloody God.
So can we say even then Hitler was part of God's plan?
I don't want to go to Hitler, but if you want to, yes. Well, Sri Aurobindo fought against Hitler himself. He sent all his spiritual force against Hitler. By the way, in India, very few understood this because Hitler was against Britain and they wanted to fight on the side of Hitler, help Hitler. Yeah? And Sri Aurobindo said, no way, no way. We have to fight together with British now, together against Hitler, because he saw who Hitler was. So, you see, here there is that dilemma where dharmas are mixed. We don't see clearly. We do not know where the truth is. Sri Aurobindo has a beautiful article on the Heraclitus, as you know, yes? Where he says that Heraclitus, he quotes him, the war is the father of all things. The clash of forces, when there is no solution, generate a new consciousness, a new necessity. Yeah? Impossibility to reconcile calls for greater luminosity of consciousness. This is the way to progress faster. But it is a spiritual look. If we don't have that spiritual look, we are lost. We are again becoming mentally judging. Right. You wanted to say something, no? No.
This is about, earlier comment about what Duryodhana chooses and what Arjuna chooses. It's interesting to see that the choice was between the army and Krishna without weapons. So Krishna was not going to lead.
No, he should not fight, yes. Only chariot here.
But he's going to drive the chariot, meaning he's going to guide.
Right.
And that quality, can you elaborate on that?
Well, absolutely the guiding force of Arjuna, the hero of the war, yes, absolutely. Well, it's the guidance of the forward towards the evolution of... Arjuna was the son of Indra, as you know, yeah? And one word, Karna was the son of Surya, and he was born immortal. And he gave up his immortality, only to kill Arjuna. But he was put into the conditions by Krishna's Yoga Maya, where he had to spend that spear, and he came, even then he was dangerous. He was stronger than Arjuna. Arjuna is Indra is an intuition closer to us. It is Vishnu's action upon the lower hemisphere. But Surya is the supermind, immortality. Karna was born. Some people even believe that Mahabharata was about Karna first, not about Pandavas. About Pandavas, but Karna is the major. Krishna came to him, offered him the kingdom, said, you are the eldest brother. He said, you came in this moment where the fight has to be? What do you think I am? I know what you want to do. I am ready to. So he was the example for Arjuna, which he always tried to achieve. He grew with this example of Karna as a supramental manifestation through this intuition and over mind, upper, higher, higher. That's what Krishna wanted. That's why Arjuna was more important for him than Karna. Karna was the protagonist, someone to become, to be stronger than him. Krishna told him, you can't fight Karna. He's like the sun, he says to him. You can't find him because he's like the sun. And when they killed Karna, the sun was clouded. They waited for this moment. His chariot was stuck, as you remember. And Arjuna couldn't even shoot. Yeah, he was holding that And Krishna says, shoot now. Because this moment is gone, the clouded sun, if it is unclouded, you will not have a chance. Can you imagine who is Karna? And he sacrificed his life for the growth of what? Of humanity, of consciousness. So Mahabharata is the fundamental story of all India. It's this, and there are so many stories there, yes? And Savitri is one of those, taken from Mahabharata. Thank you all. I am already over time. 2 minutes meditation, concentration.